Good morning, everyone. Hello again to those of you joining in via YouTube. Please share in the live stream chat and here in the Zoom chat where you're tuning in from. We love to hear where you all are from in the world. Since we have a global audience, we'd love to hear where you are tuning in from today. Faz, are you in, you're not in Fremont, where are you?
I am in a grassy field right now, just laying back. What are you talking about? No, East Bay, Fremont, you're right. Good old city, Fremont, the surrounding city, the traveling city, where everyone passes by to get to their commute.
You're not in like the fields of Ireland or Scotland?
Yeah, it's laying back, just blue skies.
Awesome. Cool.
England.
Paula's, yeah, England, Ontario, Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
Awesome. Yeah, everyone grab your water, grab your coffee, tea, orange juice.
A snack.
Yes, it is snack time. It's breakfast time.
Waffles, pancakes, all that good stuff.
I had waffles yesterday and that was a real treat.
I love waffles.
I like pancakes and French toast more. So.
And my favorite thing about hotels is the waffle you make there.
Oh,
So
I know what you
that's
mean.
the best.
I know what you mean.
Everyone knows what I mean.
The best. They come out all crispy and then soft on the inside. Hi, Jen from Oakland.
India too. Welcome in.
Amazing. Thanks for logging on. I know I think it's late for you over there. All right, we'll get started in about 2 more minutes. If you haven't already, share where you're tuning in from in the chat. Awesome. And just for sound quality, I'm going to mute everyone, but we will have an opportunity to come off mute towards the end of the session as well. Hi, Marlita from New York. Welcome, Audrey. She's in Rhode Island.
Thank you.
Welcome. All right, everyone, it is 8:30. We will go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Carly Lutz. I am our Director of Programming for Community Events here at Learnit. And with me, I have our Community and Events Coordinator, Marissa, who many of you know, and the amazing Faz Karim, who will be leading us in today's discussion on approaching inbox zero, how to clean out your email inbox. So for those of you that are new to Learnit, welcome. We are a learning and development organization based out of San Francisco, Diego, California, but now most of our team is working remote. I'm based in San Diego. Marissa is over in Florida. And we help people train on the skills and really learn the skills needed to thrive in the workplace and the economy of today, and prepare for the economy of tomorrow. So as we're all transitioning into some sort of hybrid work mode, or maybe looking for that next career path, or looking to just gain and build upon the skills we have, whether that's in data analytics or as a leader, as a manager, we want to help you upskill. So thank you to everyone who's here. We're thrilled to have you. And just a little bit of context around how this program specifically works. Every week we do a 45 to 60-minute community event on around a monthly theme. So this month we're focusing all about people leadership, and these weekly sessions are led by our own internal subject matter experts. So the same instructors that you would get in a full-length Learnit workshop lead these sessions, as well as special guest speakers. So we try to bring in thought leaders from really around the world to talk about skills that are top of mind today. And so with that, just a couple of housekeeping items. This session will be recorded, and it will be available with a couple of other additional resources from this session in our free community called Offsite. Marissa and I will go ahead and share that with you after the session. So stick around for more details on what's to come. And also, these sessions are meant to be interactive. So versus just being a webinar, we really want these events to they're really focused on community engagement. So please do put your thoughts in the chat, ask questions in the chat. Marissa and I will be capturing those, and we'll also be posting them in our community after the session so we can keep the conversation going. And so with that, I want to pass it over, or first introduce you to Faz, our amazing instructor who will lead us today. Faz is an expert in Microsoft Office and really all things Office 365 and technology. He is an educator, an instructional program designer, a project manager, and communication expert. And so Faz has helped us develop most of our content around end user content and technology training. So Excel, Word, Power BI. Faz is the brains behind all of those training programs. And so he helped design this session today. And these are sessions that he's done and helped consult for with some of the largest companies in the world. So with that, I am so excited to introduce you to Faz and take it away. Thanks so much for being here, Faz.
Thank you for that, Carly. And we have 173 and count, and keeps going up. Thank you all for giving me an hour of your time today. It's going to be worth a while. I just really appreciate getting to share my knowledge with all these people, and it means a lot every time everyone shows up. With that being said, let me go ahead and, oh, Dave, welcome back again. Let me go ahead and share my screen over here. Because we do have quite a bit of time to talk about a course that I've designed called Approaching Inbox Zero. I've designed with the help of a good buddy of mine who works at Learnit, Amanda, and another instructional designer. And me and her designed this course for a few of our clients, and it ran phenomenally inside of our private events. And I feel like this is knowledge that more people need to hear about. I mean, who doesn't use an email client, whether it's Gmail or Outlook? Many of us use Outlook, so I like to focus on the tool today that we'll talk about on how we can manage our inbox using Outlook. Now, for those of you that haven't met me yet, my name is Faz. I do have everyone on mute, but I do have Carly and Marissa actively looking at the chat box if there's any questions. And if there is any questions, I'll occasionally stop and I'm like, hey, Carly, Marissa, let me load up on any questions here, and I'll answer them throughout the session. Hopefully at the end, we'll have about 5 or 6 minutes to talk about any takeaways that we've learned, any discussions that we want to have with me. But with that being said, before I even dive into the material, I have a question for you, and this is not a test. My classes aren't tests. They're honestly pretty relaxed training sessions where we get to hang out and learn some fun stuff. I just want to know, because we're talking about Outlook and emails, what do you consider yourself? Like with the Outlook email client, a beginner, an intermediate user, or an advanced? There's no right or wrong answer, by the way. Just what do you consider yourself? or Gmail. You can give me your Gmail answer too, how familiar you feel with it. Gmail has a different layout for things, like they don't have folders, they have something called labels. But Outlook has a lot more functionalities that we can talk about, like rules, quick steps. Semi-pro. Someone said semi-pro. I like that. I use Gmail, consider myself a beginner. So most of us deal with email. I mean, some of us are now having to use Microsoft Teams or Slack of some sort for internal communication. However, I just want to tell you the importance of why it's important for us as employees and workers to manage an inbox. So let me just show you on this next slide a few email stats that I've actually found. And I actually have a link to the article where I found this inside the notes of the PowerPoint that you'll receive inside of Offsite. It's actually one of the Harvard Business Studies. Now, in the study, they found out that over-checking email is actually a killer of 21 minutes a day, on average. It's something that I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm guilty of these things sometimes too. Dealing with the full inbox when checking your email wastes another 27 minutes. Now, even when we go ahead and read and process irrelevant emails, that can cost us 8 minutes. Now, this is adding up. This is almost an hour of our day. And to me, the most important one that I believe in is just something that I always, when I first started working in the corporate world, I noticed I wouldn't get too much work done because I had a role where I constantly get emails from clients, partners, and I'd also had different tasks to do throughout the day. And what ended up happening is every time I got that notification that popped up on my computer, I'd stop whatever I was doing. Doesn't matter if I was in the middle of an Excel formula and I was almost done. I'd stop whatever I was doing and I'd go answer that email. And then for some reason, when I get back, even though I already knew what I was doing, it took a while for me to start getting going again, to start dabbling in that spreadsheet, to create that PowerPoint, that Word document that I needed to make. And it was something that I was getting out of my zone. Multitasking really doesn't exist. You know, I was kind of getting out of my zone there. And it did take me about 20 minutes or so, I kind of noticed, to kind of get back on track. So I ended up, what I did, this might not work for everybody, depending on how many emails you receive per day. I received about 50 to 75, like the average user, 50 to 75. And I decided to build an email strategy. Just a basic one. And I told myself, I want to protect my time, because it was almost like I was in a hamster wheel. And it was just taking all my time. Every time I was going to email, I had to go back to email, I had to go back and find my flow, go back to email, find my flow. It felt like a black hole, a rabbit hole. That's what my slide says. So what I decided to do is I decided to tell myself to check my email on a schedule. Protect my time is a good way to put it. Yeah, when you put it like that, people are like, yeah, I want to protect my time. Because at the end of the day, you might not notice that you're putting your brain through a lot, even if you're working from home. All these pings and bells and calls and Zoom meetings, it puts a lot of pressure on your brain. And then you're getting your phone calls too and your text messages while you're doing all that. Yeah. I have to check my email constantly. Yes, I do have tips. We're going to do conditional formats, rules, quick steps, alphabetizing your folders that we'll talk about. Now, there's something I just want to let everyone know. This feature, this concept of building a basic email strategy isn't this feature isn't something that you have to follow. And in fact, if you have one of those roles or you have a critical role where you have to answer emails urgently, all your emails are urgent, you might not want to listen to this here and turn off the notifications. This might not be for you, but we'll talk about other tips and tricks that you'll still have available, even if this strategy isn't something that works for you. But what I ended up doing is I turned off the notification schedule. I didn't get any notifications when my emails came in. And that seems scary to some people, I understand. But I just had a reoccurring meeting in my calendar so that I can check my emails. And I didn't do it every hour. I can, but I didn't do it every hour. I did it every, 2 or 3 hours. I'd have like a 15-minute chunk where I check my emails, and I wouldn't even answer them sometimes. That 15-minute chunk, FOMO. I'd sit there and classify the emails. Whether I'd be using Gmail or Outlook, I'd sit there and I'd add these labels or I'd add categories. So that when it comes time to actually answer emails, I can go through the priority of which ones are more important to me, and I can filter my inbox based off the categories or the labels that I was using. And my question is this: are you currently using categories? Cats, meow. Let me know with a yes I am or a no, not yet. Categories or labels, is that something that you're using? Labels isn't an Outlook thing. Labels is a Gmail thing. I just want to make it resonate to both. I create folders. Okay, I create folders. That's good. Has color categories, yeah. Too many emails would be in too many categories. Now, it's important to, when you create categories, to keep them general. Generalize them, like transactional, informational, periodical, so that you don't end up with too many categories that you have to assign to each email. It's almost like a needle in a haystack. Your email system, you don't want too many haystacks, and you don't want to make the haystack too big, so that way the needle is easily found. I have to overhaul my label system because it's outdated for me. So what I want to do here is I want to talk about some tips and tricks that we have using an email client, Microsoft Outlook, and how we can categorize emails and how we can search our inbox and how we can clean up and organize the interface of Outlook to work for us more conveniently. Now, if you have certain things, like I have a ton of appointments, I can help you with that. If you're a person that deals with a ton of tasks, I can help you with that. If you have a ton of contacts that you have to reach out to, there's ways you can bring these things more forward than they actually are inside of the interface. So when you go into Offsite, if you're not in there yet, when you receive this PowerPoint, I want you to know that you will have screenshots and bulleted definitions of these things that I'm discussing today. But for this training session, and most of my training sessions, if you attended them ever, an Excel class, a PowerPoint class, a Teams class, I'm a big fan of doing live demos. Meaning I'll have content for you to take with you, but I also want to go into the actual Outlook software on my PC and talk about these things live instead of just showing you a picture of it. Because I noticed that really resonates better, and it really helps people memorize these things while we do this. And the PowerPoint will be available on Offsite, our community, our free community that you can join. That we'll talk about towards the end. Yeah. So let me go ahead and open up Outlook here. And I want to zoom into the very top of my screen here because there's something that's happened in recent times, and I'm noticing it's causing some people difficulties when using their inbox. Now, when you're using an Office products, whether it's Outlook for Mac or it's for a PC, whether it's either one, the top part of your screen is called the ribbon, which is something we always talk about in our Outlook intermediate class and our Outlook beginner class. But in 2016, they invented 2 different views of the ribbon, specifically inside of Outlook. Now, in this session, we'll be talking about categories, rules, and quick steps, and even conditional formats that we can use. But I am going to be using the platform Outlook to apply these things because Outlook does have the most tools that I have available to actually manage my inbox. And it's the most heavily adopted one within organizations. So if you are looking for a role somewhere and you currently aren't working, Outlook is the most heavily adopted tool that is connected to an Outlook, to an inbox, to an email system that we have. Now, when you go up to the ribbon here in Outlook, in 2016, they invented something called the Simplified Ribbon. To be all honest, it's just something that popped up, and a lot of people, when they turned on Outlook, they noticed that a lot of things changed. And it removed a lot of the basic features that we like to use. So I'm just going to go ahead and show everybody the Simplified Ribbon here. And I want to point out that it ended up getting all of my tools and it made it much smaller. If I was on a Mac, there'd be a little toggle here that says use the new Outlook that I have to turn off. I have a question here. How many of us are actually using the classic ribbon like I had before versus the simplified? Let me know with a 1 or a 2 inside the chat. You don't even have to type the whole thing. I can save your fingers for the day. I always tell people, like, if you have basic usage of Outlook where you're just dealing with emails and that's about it, don't worry too much about using the classic. The simplified ribbon will do it for you. But for most roles where you're getting 50 to 75 emails a day, the simplified ribbon is probably not going to cut it. So what I'm going to do for my training is I'm just going to make sure to go up to the top of my screen and right click. And I want to use the classic ribbon for myself. Yes, the slides will be available in Offsite, everybody. So that's why I have those quick little captions there. But I do like showing this live inside the presentation instead of just showing the screenshot here, which is what the screenshot shows, the 2 different ribbons that I have available. Nice. Carly just put the link for Offsite. You do all want to sign up for it really quickly after the training session. Now, the desktop version of Office 365 is a lot more robust than the online version. Once I talk about the ribbon, I just want everyone to know that on the left-hand side of Outlook, you have a special area called the folder pane. And I'm not going to ask you whether or not you use folders. Whether you're in Gmail or Outlook, I'm sure we organize our emails in folders or labels. I want to ask you a specific question though. Do you know of something called of search folders or something called of a smart search if you're using Mac? With a yes, I do, or not yet. Good, good. It's about a 50-50. They're called smart searches on a Mac. But I notice a lot of people, like even me, I'm guilty of this. I have a ton of different folders that I create. In 2016, Outlook actually had a folder option where we can alphabetize our folders from the folder tab. And I use that a lot, the folder A to Z. But then they invented something called the search folder. And the search folder actually reduced a lot of the times where I had to actually search my inbox. I noticed that in my life, I had to constantly search for emails from my manager, Liz. I constantly had to search for my offsite emails from Carly. I constantly had to look my emails up from Ben. These are people that I constantly searched for almost every day. So what I decided to do is inside of my folder pane, there's a special area called search folders. I've already built quite a few of them. And a search folder is essentially going to allow me to save a search into that folder. That way, it's not actually moving the email into a folder, but it's just going to present me a filtered view of my inbox with that person's emails or the criteria that I set. I highly advise everybody that if they are at work and they're contacting 3 or 4 people throughout the day, to create a search folder for those 3 or 4 people they're constantly reaching out to. Now, Yahoo is an email, but it's not an email client. So it doesn't give you a set of tools to manage your inbox. Yahoo is just an inbox that we have for our emails to come in. But Outlook is what we can connect our email, our Yahoo email to let us manage our inbox. Yeah. For people that are saying, I have Outlook, I have Yahoo. Yahoo is just an email inbox. Yeah, so Outlook is something that we can connect our account to. And then we can utilize the Outlook features with our Yahoo inbox. So I'm going to build a search folder here because I just want to demonstrate building just one. And when I build a search folder, I don't have to do it based off a specific person. I can build one that's actually for mail, that's flagged for follow-up. I know a lot of people turn on that little flag when they have something to respond to on an email. I can have all of those emails that have a flag show up in one particular folder for myself. I highly recommend, if you are going to build search folders and it's your first time, to build a search folder for specific users within the organization that you're in contact with. And instead of searching for their emails, start going to the search folder to access their emails and building a location for yourself. Let me go ahead and select mail from and to specific people here. I'm going to hit choose. Yeah, Hotmail did get upgraded to Outlook. Absolutely. Yeah. Here, I'm going to go ahead and add a search folder for a good buddy of mine, Eddie. And when I do that, I'm going to go ahead and add him to this window and hit OK. I want to let everyone know that if you have multiple inboxes, I know some people are managing and delegating other people's inboxes, or they have 2 email addresses loaded in their email client. You can actually create search folders for either one directly from here. It lets you pick between the inboxes. I'm going to hit OK here for the Eddie search folder. Now, what this ends up doing is it shows the email chain between me and Eddie, only me and Eddie, in one area without moving it from my inbox. Now, unfortunately for us, the search folders link will always be at the very bottom of your folder pane. So what I prefer is for all of my search folders that I use, which are quite a bit of them, to add them to something called the favorite section of Outlook, which is the very top of your folder pane. Now, I just want to point out that if you do not have a favorite section and it's not on, you have to go to your View tab. And from the View tab, your folder pane settings will allow you to turn on the favorite section to where you can add particular folders, and in my case, search folders, directly to the top of the folder pane. I'm going to right click and add that to the favorite section. So there I have Eddie in my list. And it really helps me out when I do get emails, because if my inbox number changes and it ends up being Eddie, I'll end up seeing the number 2 there. Yeah, I'll try to zoom in there more, Kathy. I do have a tool that allows me to zoom in, but this is as far as it lets me zoom in. Yeah. So hopefully we are in Zoom full screen if we want to see this, or the YouTube Live is in full screen if you are viewing this. So I have a question here. For those of us that are going to use Outlook, are you going to plan to create some search folders after today's training with the Yes, I Am, or are you going to skip out on this one? Yes, someone said yes. Good, good. Definitely something to help manage the inbox. It might not clear it out, but it's going to help you search through it. Nice. Someone said I already started. Yeah, how to create a favorite again. Don't worry, you simply just right click any folder and the option to add it. Let me zoom in here to the favorites will be presented to you. Yeah, good stuff. Now remember, on a Mac, they're called smart searches. You simply save the search that you have on your Mac. It's a little different, but the feature is still available on a Mac. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I've talked a little bit about the folder pane. So that's one very important area on how to manage an email. You have to learn how to use folders. No, thank you for being here. The next thing I want to talk about is using your email inbox with the navigation pane. Now, with this being said, I have a question here for those of us that do use Outlook. Are we using icons or words at the very bottom there? Okay. There's no really right or wrong answer to this, but I just want to share why I have this word calendar instead of the icon calendar. I like to drag and drop emails to my navigation pane. That way I can create calendar invitations for my email, if this had to be an appointment that I have to use. Or if I get an email from someone that I haven't met yet and I have to add them to my contacts, I can quickly drag and drop them to people. And I can delete the notes, of course, I can delete the notes, but it ends up adding their information where I can save and close them as a contact. Same thing with the tasks. If I have to do a task, I can drag and drop the email directly to the task list. You can totally drag and drop it with the icons as well. But I have a nice and large screen. So what I've done is I've decided to show the words, which takes up a little bit more space, and I added my notes. I believe you can also drag and drop in Gmail as well, to drag and drop into the areas that you'd want them to go into. Absolutely. Now, if you do want to add in your notes section and to make it into words instead of icons like I have, you can simply go up to the ellipses and access your navigation options. This is not going to change the way Outlook works. It's still going to work the same way. It's just more of a cosmetic difference. And if you do have a larger screen, it just makes sense to use the words and have more items from this list being displayed, like your Outlook notes. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK here. If you use search folders, the messages may still remain in my inbox. How do I get to inbox 0? That's a good question. So search folders are not removing it from your inbox. That's not what's happening. It's keeping it in your inbox, but it's also allowing you to search your inbox. Now that we've talked about the folder pane and a little bit about the navigation pane, let me share you some tips that I have about the inbox. Now, one thing that I do to manage the inbox a little bit better is I use a very special setting called conversation view. If you're a Gmail user, Gmail automatically does this for you, but Outlook doesn't. And I just want to show you all some of my emails. I'm going to zoom in here. They actually have a little arrow on the side of it. Not every single one, but some of them. And when you click on it, it ends up showing you all of the emails that we had with the same subject line. Whether it's sent, whether it's in a different folder, it's putting it all in one row. What this essentially does is it cleans up my inbox a little bit so that I'm not seeing too many messages all within different chains. I highly recommend, if you are using Outlook, to use this setting. It's something that Gmail does automatically. But inside of my View tab, for my inbox, I've already turned on Show as Conversations. And if I didn't have that on, I'm going to turn that off for this folder here. You're going to see that my inbox ends up becoming much larger because each email shows up as its own separate row, where this became 3 rows. Let me go ahead and turn that back on for all my mailboxes. There we go, bundled that in one row. Someone just asked me, is it easy to go back and forth between conversation view? Yeah, it's as easy as that. Just check marking it on and off from the View tab. So it's definitely something I have it on by default. There are rare cases where I turn it off to search my inbox, which I can do with the click of a button. Yeah. Now, you also have the ability to hide the lines of the message within the inbox, so that way you can see more messages at once. The rows become smaller. Now, someone said that in the past, they ended up missing certain emails in the conversation. Now, when we have an Outlook email that's unread, it ends up showing up as a bold blue within the chain, letting us know that we had an unread email. Even if it's inside of a conversation, let me go ahead and make the conversation unread. Here we go. I was saying I don't have permissions for this one. That's fine, but it ends up showing here. Let me show you a little grab of this one here. It shows a little blue bar to let you know that the message is unread. Yeah. That is something that you can do, Shelly. Shelly is mentioning the fact that she goes to her folder pane. And what we have access to is an option called Clean Up Folder. We can do this the entire inbox as well from the Home tab in the Cleanup area. Now, Cleanup Conversation is only going to put the most relevant chain, the most recent chain with all the responses in the conversation. So that is definitely going to remove things if you do have a conversation that's been going on for quite some time, and when you expand it, there's a ton of rows. So just keep the most recent one with all of the replies in that chain. Yeah, definitely a good tip. Yeah, definitely a good tip to use the cleanup conversation or the cleanup folder and subfolder. Thank you for that, Shelly. Yeah.
Faz, one other question surrounding that. It seems like people have a lot of questions around conversations, but Matija says, why do you need to turn off the conversation to search emails?
So I turn it off occasionally when the conversation becomes too large. Now the conversation becomes too large and I expand it. One second, let me open up a conversation. Looks like my Outlook is bugging out just a little bit, of course. Here, let me hit no. Let me restart it there. One second, everybody. Yeah. So I'm fine with a conversation that only has two. But when these things end up getting a little larger and they have multiple responses and have a larger chain of feedback within them, there are quick times where I quickly pop up to my view tab and I turn off show as conversations for the folder that I'm looking in, just so I can quickly see the chain. And when I'm ready back, I can turn it back on. I don't do this too often, but it's something that is available to me that I have. Yeah, so it's something that I can quickly pop into and pop out of. It's not one of those settings that I can set and it's done. Yeah. There isn't a way for us to get these folders and convert them to search folders, unfortunately. So if you do like that concept of building search folders, start getting a list of them and start building them now so that you have access to them. Yeah, but remember, it's not moving items out of your inbox. It's just simply displaying a filtered view of your inbox items. These are a lot of questions coming in. Let me ask you all a question though. Let me go to my home tab here. And so far, we're talking about how to manage our inbox. I learned how to reduce the row count a little bit, and I learned how to search through it. What about moving emails? I know we all have a ton of folders, and I have certain emails. As soon as they come in, I move them to the folder that they belong, based off the subject line, based off the sender. Now, in Outlook, the email client, we have a certain tool to automate this process. Inside of our home tab, we can actually build something known as a rule. For as long as we set the conditions and the criteria, we can set a rule to have an email automatically move to a certain folder or get assigned a certain category. Does anyone use this feature currently with a yes, I do or a not yet? I use it, but there's a few things that I like to turn on when I use it just to make sure I see the email that comes in. There's a few things I've turned on just to when the email does get moved to the folder, I know it does. So I'll talk about that. So let me go ahead and create a rule here. Now, when you create a rule, it's automatically going to choose the details of the email that you're on. So if I choose this email here and I hit create rule, the rule is going to be based off the subject line, your daily briefing, the sender Cortana. I'm just going to build one for the Cortana rule there. Here, create rule. And whether you're on a Mac or a PC, the window looks slightly different, but you have all the same options. Now remember, if rules is grayed out, you have to be on an Exchange server and the email has to be selected. And when you end up getting to the create rules window, we have these two little boxes to fill out. The top box is when I get an email with all the set conditions. These are the conditions that we choose for the rule, like if the email comes from Cortana. This is very important for people that haven't used rules yet. When I first started using them, I missed a ton of new emails. I couldn't find them. It's because I didn't turn on display new item in alert window. It would just move to a folder, and then once I check the folder, I'd have to see, oh, there's a new email in there. Once I ended up turning on display a new item alert window, it ended up popping up a window letting me know that a new email came in and it was moved to the folder. Just so I know that the email actually did move and the email exists. And when I started working from home, I even turned on a little sound. That's very important. It's very, very important. Now, from here is where I get to choose where I can move the item to a particular folder. I had a quota. I had too many. I'm not sure what the maximum is. I can see that. Yeah, you had a maximum. Yeah, there could be a max. But you can always hit dismiss all. I'm just going to move this one to the, yeah, you can do that. You can send it to deleted items. Absolutely. I'm just not going to do that for my example. I'm just going to send it to the folder AAA. Most email clients, so email client, the main one I can think of is Outlook, but there are smaller companies that have email clients, which will have rules, conditional formats, folder panes, search folders. These are the tools that we use to manage email inboxes with an email client, that is. Yes, it might not be done with the same steps exactly. Microsoft has a particular way of doing things, but these tools can be applicable to other inboxes. Yeah. Here, let me go ahead and build this search folder here. I'm sorry, not the search folder, but this rule, and it's going to end up getting all of the items that got sent from Cortana, and move it over to the folder AAA, and I'll hit OK. I want to let everyone know that when the rule is created, you can also run rules on the current folder. You can make this run on the existing inbox. This is a way that you can clean up your inbox, if you think about it, by organizing them into the appropriate folders. I'm going to hit OK. So look at my new item window. The new item, a new mail alerts window at the bottom. It's moving all of these items. Looks like I get I get one every day, so it's moving one for every day since I haven't done this in a while. This is actually cleaning up my inbox. I needed to do that. Cool. So there in AAA, I now have 72 emails. Ooh, that's very interesting. Someone's saying, can the rule be run after a time frame? Let me check, because I do know, I don't dabble in this too much, but I do know, I've dabbled in it before, that we have pretty advanced options. It's not just to make a rule to move things into folders. We also have advanced options. And I just want to see here if there's based off a time frame. Look at that. If it's received within a specific date span. I don't believe rules, the automation feature, is in Gmail. You have folders and you have the labels in there, but you don't have the rules to automatically assign them based off a condition, unfortunately. Yeah. You have conditional formats. Yeah. So, Jen, you do actually have the ability to have a rule if it's in a specific date span, to move it to that email. Yeah, so it's a filter. Yeah, it's a filter in Gmail. So definitely just poke around your advanced options. There's a lot of different things you can do in there. It can be a folder or a subfolder of the inbox there. Now keep in mind, you can do this for multiple inboxes. You just have to select the inbox that you want to go to in your email client. Yeah. Where do you find advanced options? Let me hit create rule here. And it's simply at the very bottom of the window, advanced option there. So now that we're seeing this over here, I have a way of moving emails automatically into certain folders that I have. And I know we're getting close to end here because I have a little few things to have Carly to say, but besides being able to search, organize, and to clean up your inbox, another thing I'm a big fan of is adding a conditional format. Now, does anyone do that? Where we actually assign a conditional format to where if an email comes in from a certain sender, tell us more. Okay, that's something that I do a lot. Here, let me give you an example of one. Let me go to my inbox here. When Liz sends me a message, they show up as green. When Liz sends me a message, they show up as green. When Damon sends me a message, let me go to inbox Damon here. It shows up as red. They're all things that I've set. Harley's show up as light green. These are all things that I've set. So that I know who has sent me an email just at a quick glance, even if I'm in my kitchen washing the dish. Now from the view tab here, where we turned on conversation view, you're gonna notice that we actually have access to something known as view settings. Now, these view settings here, when we give it a click, is actually going to show you an area where you can apply conditional formatting to your inbox. Like even the unread message is a conditional format. It's a blue bold. I'm going to build a new conditional format by adding one to the list and choosing one. Here, I'll build one for Eddie here. And I'll end up changing the font color. To maroon, or better yet, I will do it to olive, and I'll hit OK. Now the condition, this is the important part, setting the condition for the rule. We'll apply the conditional format. I want it when it's from, and I'm just going to search for Eddie's name here. Now, when I hit OK here, this is just going to get all the emails from Eddie. That's the condition. I'm going to change the font to an olive. And when I hit OK, and OK, you're going to see that I've automatically, even in the messages that I've already received, I'm going to change to that olive there. Now, if you don't have all of these options, it might be that you have an older version of Outlook. I'm an Office 365 user, and I know that simply by going to my File tab and I can actually take a look at my Office account where it says I have an Office 365 apps for enterprise subscription. And even if you do and you notice you don't have everything, there's an updates option that we have available. Now, everybody, I just want to check really quickly out of these features that I discussed, because we're getting close to the time here, the ribbon, the folder pane, the navigation pane. Which one was going to be your favorite? Which one's your top feature that we discussed here? Or your top takeaway, we'll call it. Conditional formatting, search folders, rules, navigations. We will have the recording. I would love a second session. Yeah, the in-person class goes a little longer. It's double the duration. Not the in-person, but the full duration of the class. All of it. Before I hand it off to Carly here, well, I'm looking like I have a little bit more time to say something. Something important that I'm noticing. This is not really a feature that I want to talk about, but more of a concept that I want you all to understand. In this day and age, although we're going to do all of these great functionalities to control our inbox, I want you to know that 42% of email is opened on a mobile device, on an iPad, on Android, on an iPhone. You can only see 5 to 6 words in the subject. So all these features are great for a desktop app, but most emails, 42%, are open on a mobile device. It's a good idea when you're writing subjects, it's a summary of the body text. You don't have to use title case. Sentences, punctuation, adding a date, that is a-okay in the subject, especially in the front. The first 5 or 6 words is what they get to see. You can even change subject lines as the communication changes. I just want to let you know a couple constructive subject lines that you can use. Whether you're sending an email that requires an action, you can put action required, or something that doesn't, you can put no action required. Did I have a typo? I might have had a typo. Apologies if I did. In addition to using these more appropriate subject lines, I also just want to make sure that when you write out your emails, there are people reading it. And studies do show that when you have a paragraph that's longer than 2 lines, 30% of your audience is actually going to skip past that or just kind of browse through it. If that increases to 4 lines, you have an email with 4 lines, a paragraph with 4 lines in one chunk, 70% of the readers kind of browse through that chunk. I do want to let you know that they will read the headings, if you add headings, the captions, the paragraph titles, if you add them to each paragraph. And I always try, when I build these bulleted lists within my emails, to keep them to about 4 bullets or less, to keep the list short. Even on this slide, it's 4 bullets if you've noticed that. Friends, this class is provided to you by Learnit and many others, with me and some amazing instructors. This class was called Inbox to Zero. If you do like those Outlook features, we have Outlook Beginner and Intermediate to discuss as well. I just want to thank you all, both on YouTube Live and people that joined from offsite, for giving me an hour of your time today to share my knowledge and to give you a little preview of what Inbox to Zero has to offer. Now, Carly, I have 5 minutes exactly, like you asked.
Thank you so much for being here and for this awesome session. Everyone, if you enjoyed today's session, just give Faz a little bit of love in the chat. We'd love to see your reactions, get your feedback on this session. We really appreciate it. We'll actually be sending out a feedback survey after the session as well to get your individual feedback. But great to see some support for Faz here in the chat. Great presentation. A lot of appreciation. So thank you, Faz. I just want to remind everyone of a couple ways you can dive deeper and keep learning. Again, these sessions are meant to build on each other to help you become certified in certain skills this month around people leadership, but also keep building if you want to dive deeper specifically into email communication, time management. These are a couple of full-length workshops that we have. So these workshops range anywhere between 2 to 6 hours. They're all taught live, instructor-led, and we dive a lot deeper into topics than we did today, but similar facilitation style, and you might even get Faz as your instructor. So who wouldn't want to take it? So here's a couple of dates we have coming. I will share these via email. All of our clients and people that are in our community and offsite also receive a discount. So I'll share that out after the session. And I know we've been saying this throughout today, but we really do encourage you to join offsite. There's a little QR code here, or a little scan code for you to join and scan, or you can go to offsitebylearnit.com, which Marissa has kindly put in the chat as well. But in there, you can find access to today's recording and presentation. There's also live instructor help. So if you have a specific question, you can actually share a screenshot and our instructors will get back to you within 24 hours. So there's actual live help in there. And we also have special Ask the Expert sessions on Wednesdays. And of course, there's discounts in there on full-length workshops. So please do join us. We have one more community event coming up in August around secrets of effective email. So it'll actually build a lot on the session we just did today. And for those of you that have been following along in August, thank you. You'll be receiving a badge of certification in people leadership by the end of the month. So we'll be tallying up attendees for that. For those of you that are new to the community, welcome, and we hope to see you for next month's theme. Community theme will be all around Excel power user. So we'll be focusing all of these events on how to get better and stronger in using Excel. So with that, I really want to thank everyone for being here. We did have a lot of questions in the chat, and we only have 2 minutes. But Faz, I thought I would just maybe bubble up a few from the ones that Marissa and I captured just to start. And then everyone, if you have additional questions, again, please do post them in offsite. And I'll share a little tutorial via email on how to post effectively. But one thing I just wanted to, I think we had a couple really great questions, but one question from Judith that popped up was, Faz, how do you get irrelevant emails to stop sending, or just kind of like blocking or muting emails from less than important people, whether it's, marketing or spam or things like that?
Got it. So usually when an email comes in from an unwanted sender, you can write here. Let me share my screen. I think it'll be better if I show it with my screen. Alrighty. Again, this is if you have a sender, a spam sender that's sending an email constantly. I do a lot of YouTube videos, and my email address sometimes pops on those, and I get those myself. But if you do, you can actually right-click them, and there's a junk option. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's also inside the Home tab. Let me zoom into it. Junk option in the delete command group that we have available, where we can block the sender, or we can go ahead and block the domain from the sender so we don't receive it from anyone from there. So there is some options to block people as well that we have available within Gmail and Outlook. These both have these block features that we have available. Yeah, just a simple right click will also do it. Setting up the junk.
Awesome. Thank you. I felt like that was a quick win, could be a quick win to end on.
Yeah.
But of course, everyone, if you have more questions, do post them in offsite, and we'll be back next week with more programming. So thank you so much, Faz. Thank you, Marissa. Thank you to this amazing community. We love having you. Take care.